want retribution. Oh yeah, we want retribution. Oh yeah, we want retribution. Yeah, we ran out of patience. Boil up with the cold hard hatred. I can feel the vibration.
Well, welcome back, everybody. First off, I want to apologize for it taking so long for me to get this video out, but I got called back to work, been kind of busy, but that hasn't stopped me from scouring Marketplace looking for sweet tractors for sale. So what you're looking at here is a 1982 Lawn Chief. From what I understand, the information I've looked up anyway, the Lawn Chief brand was made by Murray exclusively to only be sold in True Value hardware stores from, I think, the late 70s to late 90s. This one in particular, with the 16-horse opposed cylinder Briggs and the 42-inch deck, was only offered 1 year, and that was 1982. So kind of a rare little tractor, which, I thought was cool. But to the guys out there with the trained eyes, there's one thing about this that made me absolutely want to buy it. As soon as I saw it pop up, I messaged the guy, drove about 45 minutes to get it, and that's these wheel weights on the back. These were made by a company called Rowe, and I believe it's hard to see, that says 85. These are 85-pound weights. Now, again, anybody that knows anything about, garden tractors, stuff like that, these particular weights sell used anywhere from $200 to $300 a set. So the fact this thing had them on them was awesome. And again, I always try to be honest with you guys. I paid $100 for this tractor the way it sits. So that being said, it was a great deal regardless. But me being me, I'm gonna try to get it running. I know it's ugly. It's got a lot of dust, a lot of mouse crap and stuff like that. And a little backstory on it. So the guy that I bought it off of, he bought a piece of property that had a barn sitting on the property, and this was one of the tractors sitting inside. He estimates that it sat in the barn for roughly 15 years, which you can tell by looking at it. That's probably pretty accurate. I mean, this thing is, it's had some critters living in it. But the paint's not really that faded. It's filthy from sitting inside, just dust and stuff like that, humidity, mice living in it, birds crapping on it. But from what I can tell, it's mostly all there. And like all used tractors I buy, they always need a battery, never fails. And the way this one is, the battery went down in that center cubby hole. So we're gonna have to get a battery put in it. And as always, is needing a battery, it's got flat tires. You can't buy an old tractor and not expect to have a couple flat tires. So we'll probably be addressing that. That might end up being in a different video. I know they do hold air they do take air long enough to move it, and then it leaks out overnight. Guys, I think the first thing we're gonna do is probably go ahead and pull these spark plugs out. That way there's not very much resistance on the engine whenever I do try to turn it over. I'm sure that some of the belts are probably pretty stiff, so we're gonna pop them out, take a look at them, and well, that's not terrible. All right, guys, got the other side out. About the same as the other one. It's got some carbon buildup on it, but there's no rust, so that's a very good sign. Well, guys, I was not looking forward to this part because it's probably going to be pretty grody, but who knows? Maybe it won't be. See if we can get the air box lid off. Hell, maybe there's a perfectly good air filter in here. Well, that's not terrible. All right, again, That doesn't look too bad, guys. You can tell it's definitely been sitting, but I was really expecting some mouse house or some spider nest or something. So that's very good that looks like it stayed somewhat dry. And so I don't get yelled at, let's check the oil. Looks like it's a little low. Definitely older oil, but I think it's good enough to try to start on. Doesn't smell like gas. All right, guys, so we know that it turns over free. The plugs look good, so there's probably no moisture in it. We made sure there's oil in it, and we're not gonna suck anything bad in through the intake. So let's go ahead and get the jump box set up. The ends that were on these cables were junk, and the corrosion looks pretty bad on those. So I don't have high expectations for those cables lasting much longer, but we're gonna throw the jump pack on it and see if we can get the turnover. Just gonna hook these cables up real quick. Try not to start a fire and get sparks thrown everywhere. Nothing. Oh. I got something. Another quick and dirty way to check that, guys. We'll see if we're getting voltage to the top of the starter solenoid. Find a good ground somewhere. So key off, we got nothing. Do key on, turn the key. Well, I don't know what the issue was there, but well, guys, we got a lot of dirty connections, and I don't know if it's the key switch because I can't even get a good enough reading to check for continuity because there's so much rust. So I'm just gonna stop there and do what I know needs to be done, and that's just clean all the connections to make sure we're actually, you know, making contact. And then we'll start doing some diagnostic, because if you don't have, I don't know how to explain, if you don't have the ideal conditions set up, you're never gonna get accurate results whenever you're diagnosing something. And that's for anything, not just a old lawnmower. So let's get started on that. Okay, guys, I've cleaned a couple of battery cables, cleaned up a couple of connections. I want to see now if the issue isn't that key switch. So trying to set that up where you guys can see it. Again, I've got it set on ohms. So I've unplugged the back of the key switch. So this black wire here is the trigger wire. So we got continuity all the way down to pretty much nothing. These leads, like I said, have got some resistance in them themselves. So we know that that connection's good. And the reason I wanted to check is because there's some Scotch locks in there, and I hate Scotch locks. All right, guys, so I thought of a little experiment we can try just to 100% rule out this key switch. So the key switch gets power from this red wire. This was on the starter solenoid on the constant battery side. The cable coming from the battery going to the starter solenoid is where this wire was ran. So essentially 12 volts going to come in there to the key switch, and it's going to stay there until you turn your key switch over to start, and it closes those contacts, sends that 12 volt through the trigger wire to the solenoid, closes the contacts, turns the starter over. So I didn't hook the battery cables back up. I'm just going 12 volt directly to the key switch, and this is our trigger wire. So I've got my test light here. This is key off. I've got nothing, which you should have nothing on there. So go to the key switch, go to start, I've got nothing. And I should have 12 volt coming there. Okay, guys, I don't know where in the hell my mind's at. So let's try this again. We need to make sure we're actually getting 12 volt to the switch. We know we got 12 volt coming in, but there's an inline fuse right here. Again, always start with the easy things, which I did not do. So the red wire is that pin there. Look at that. We got no power there. So here's what we got going on. We got an inline fuse holder. And the fuse actually wasn't blown. So I did check it, it's fine. So I think the problem was just connection to this, because it doesn't look that good. So I'm gonna do the wrong thing and cut this fuse holder out of it. And actually I might just go ahead and put a whole new piece of wire, because it's got this sketchy quick connect thing. I just don't trust it. So we're gonna cut that out and put a new wire in. Okay guys, same setup, 12 volt directly into this. Let's see if that solved our 12 volt problem. And it did, we got 12 volt now. All right, now we can do the test. Okay guys, here we go again. 12 volt going in, you guys can see to the kill switch. This is the trigger wire. Got nothing right now. Key on. Woo, look at that. That's what we want to see. All right, guys, $1 million question. Did we fix the starting system? So, keys off. Let's try it. All right. All right, y'all know the drill by now. I threw the spark plugs back in. We know it's turning over. Let's see if we get any spark out of this thing. Have you guys watch and see if you can see it. So what do you think? We got it turning over. We know we've got battery voltage where it should be. The next thing we should do is go ahead and pull the shrouding off of it, and we'll get a look at it and see what's going on underneath that. All right, I think I got all the bolts out. Let's see if we can't get this off. Well, everybody, I'd say we found the reason why this thing was parked. Notice something broke there? Well, this just got a whole lot more interesting. Well, guys, it is the next day. Once I found that coil last night, or that broken bolt, I figured it was time to call it a night. So kind of changes the plan a little bit, kind of. I mean, my guess is that the coil was bad, and the guy that owned it took it apart, tried to remove it, broke a bolt, said to hell with it, and parked it in his barn and left it. But I do know for sure the carb's gonna have to come off, and I'm just gonna go through and give me a little bit more room. I'll pull the hood off, pull some more shrouding off. I'll get you guys set up. We'll get some shrouding pulled off and see what we can get into today. Tell you what, this thing has just been chock full of surprises and mysteries. I saw these vice grips on here when I brought it home, and I thought it was on there just to kind of hold the throttle cable, because I'm pretty sure that's what that cable is. Yeah, it's a throttle cable, but it's hard for you guys to tell. They've actually vice gripped the cable in place to the bracket here, meaning that you couldn't rev it up or idle it down. So I don't know if they've put this cable on here to make it work and just pinned it at half throttle so they could use it. I'm not too sure, but I've been soaking these in WD-40 and we're gonna try to get these off now. There we go. Oh yeah, look at them. I'm gonna see if I can backfeed these spark plug wires out so I can test them. All right, guys, let's see if we can't get this ignition coil off. All right, guys, let's see if we can't get these studs out. There's always something fun about steel and cast aluminum. Oh, look at that. Nice. All right, guys, well, it felt like forever. Finally got the new coil in. So let's get this thing put on here and see if we get spark. Now this is gonna look opposite than how it did, but from the Amazon reviews I was reading, with this coil, you need to have your spark plug wires going out in the wrong direction. So that's how I'm gonna do it for now. And if we still have problems, we'll flip this thing over and see what happens. You guys saw there in the last clip, this wire here that does the, I guess you call it the kill wire. On that old setup, it had this little tiny terminal on it, so we're gonna have to crimp on a, whatever you call this, a quick connect spade terminal. So let's get that cut off and get this put on. All right, guys, new ignition coil's put on. Got the spark plug wires just roughly routed for now. I got the spark tester in line, so let's hit the key and hopefully we're gonna see some spark. Well, there we go. That is awesome. All right, guys, while we're waiting for some other parts, let's go ahead and dig into this carb, get this thing rebuilt. This carb kit actually came from Napa. So if any of you guys have got one of these Briggs engines, that's the part number there. They do keep some of this stuff in stock, and they actually had one. So It's a little bit more pricey than what you're gonna find online, but I mean, the quality looks pretty good, so. All right, guys, got the carb rebuilt, got it put on. For now, this is your fuel inlet. The line going to the tank was rock hard, so for now, I'm probably just gonna bottle feed it. I might just run a hose to a temporary tank, because it is a fuel pump, so it should draw it. But yeah, we'll get some fuel to it and see how bad I screwed up rebuilding that carb, and then we'll hit the key and see if it'll start. I don't know. All right, guys, we got temporary fuel tank set up. And yeah, it's about as safe as it looks. I'm sure it'll be fine. Sure it'll be fine. So we got the fuel hooked up, got battery voltage to it. It's a neutral. Let's turn the key and see what happens. What the hell happened to spark? Why would we lose spark all of a sudden? I mean, you guys saw it was working. Well, hell. So I'm thinking the kill wire going to the key switch or whatever is shorted out somewhere and it's grounding itself out and it's not letting it get spark. But it just kicked off. That is awesome. So let me finagle a little bit here and see if I can't get this thing to run for a couple minutes. The throttle linkage not being hooked up is kind of sketchy because it likes to go to wide open. So, man, that's cool. First start in 15 years. Guys, I've been struggling with this thing for a week now. I'm so relieved to hear this thing run. Man, that's awesome. Well, guys, I hate to leave you on a cliffhanger like that, but this video is going to be plenty long enough, and I need to go inside and get it edited so I can get it online for you guys to see hopefully tomorrow. So I'm thrilled that it's running. It's just been, like I said, the last week or so, trying to get parts for it, trying to find the time. I got called back to work, and I'm just cool to see that thing run. I mean, 15 years that thing sat in a barn, and all it takes, a little bit of spark, a little bit of air, and a little bit of fuel. So, as always, guys, I appreciate you watching. We're getting closer to my 1,000 subscriber goal. If just take a second, if you guys aren't subscribed yet, hit the button wherever it's at on the screen, and that way you can stay up to date with what I got going on. So, but yeah, like always, guys, thanks for watching, and have a good one.